So not only do we have representatives all over the province and from service organizations, academic institutions, we have international people here and people recently from another country as well. I think the wealth of experience that comes to this table and that we can bring back, I'm really excited about. So just as an overview, I'll ask Caitlin to help me keep on time. I'm your presenter for the morning. We'll have, I'm hoping and I invite you to be interactive. I much more enjoy hearing your voices during my presentation than my voice. I've tried to create something that both for the novices and maybe for those that are experienced with ethics, research ethics. So hopefully there'll be a bit of everything that you can, there's something for everyone, so to speak. We will have a mid-morning break, and we'll go to approximately 12:30, and then I believe lunch has been offered. If you haven't been in the building before, I did find the washrooms. You have to go down the hallway to the right, kind of ask your way through, and then you end up where the washrooms are at the end of the corridor. Don't go in the offices there, you'll find your way. I was lucky, I heard a flush, so it was like it's exciting to talk about research. Yeah, we've got somebody's face disappeared. Now he's disappeared. Even listening to the radio driving up, they mention about some new discoveries on rat models that might indicate spinal cord regeneration with electrical impulses. If you're sitting there and I'm hearing that on the radio this morning. I'm also thinking we're going to talk about ethics this morning, not just an ethics application, hopefully, but ethics that should be integrated and incorporated all the way through a research project. And then we've got the Manitoba pharmacist that's just been arrested in Florida, and this is a gentleman that's been selling counterfeit drugs to Americans under the guise of making sure that we can provide our poorly Americans with affordable drugs. And the fraud and the counterfeitness of his intentions really so that he could make money. So those sort of things always resonate with me when I'm listening to what's going on in what appears to be sort of just passing time getting from A to B, but how relevant the topics that we'll be discussing are. Both the nature of inquiry, generation of knowledge, but then how we do it in hopefully an ethical manner. So just a little bit background on my why I'm here talking to you about ethics, because by no means I'm not a bioethicist. I don't have any kind of degrees. I have about 6 years experience though, as both being a research ethics board member, and then in 2006, and then in 2009 invited to become the chair. So I've been the chair of one of our VHA ethics boards, and I'll get into a little bit more at some point about VHA. For those of you that might be considering submitting applications, I do want some practical knowledge shared in this morning's as well. So I'm going to start with the disclosure statement because I didn't put it in as a slide, but I am being supported for this talk in my expenses are being covered. So my travel and any of that. But this is not a paid presentation. It is actually something that I expect and is part of the work that I do at VHA in my role as a nursing research facilitator. So that's my disclosure statement. What I was hoping to do today was so really when I share that I sit on a research ethics board, I've often felt from the tone in the audience that I should be wearing a flak jacket, because when people have to submit ethics applications, do you feel like this? Well, what I want to do is turn that around. that, in fact, ethics is an integral part of the study design, the study integrity, and what we're there to do is to actually support your study and to make it stronger and to advance research in be it the health authority or if you're sitting on an academic research ethics. Make it a stronger, maintain public trust, and protect the individuals, obviously. But we are a can-do, and that's what I take on very importantly, is that we are supportive of the process, we want to be consultative, but we will honor the job that we're entrusted with, which is ensuring ethical practice. So this morning, over the course of the morning, this is what I hope to do, is give you a bit of a background and context to an ethical approach to research. And then I'm going to tease out a few of I'm going to do an overview of an ethics application and ethics considerations, and tease out a few of the key things that often trip up a submission. And then we're going to practice a couple of things this afternoon or later on this morning, try and get a bit of a more process going. Obviously offer you some practical tips to smooth the water, so to speak. And then I will tell you a bit about BHA's ethics process so that if you're contemplating submitting to BHA, some how-tos in that respect. So if there's anything that I'm not covering, and as I said, I'd like this to be interactive, please interrupt, ask me questions, etc. So as I said, an ethics review is generally to honor ideals as listed here in this slide. That is to promote health research that serves the public good. Secondly, to respect the interests and rights of research participants, and ultimately to merit the trust of participants and the public. Research that's done well can honor all those things. Research that's either poorly written, without scientific integrity, etc., essentially counters these principles. And so that's why both in peer reviews, scientific reviews, and ethics reviews, we're trying to tighten that up, make it better, and ultimately protect those that are the subject matters of research. So, who's responsible for research ethics? You just kind of, I know you've got your slides in front of you, but if you haven't read them, maybe you can just throw out, who's responsible for research ethics? Right, so that would be the researchers, the principal investigators.
Yeah, review boards.
Ethics review boards. Institution. Yeah. Those that are conducting the research and supporting, and those that are funding the research as well. So yeah, I think people tend to think it's just the research ethics boards, and that's why I wanted to put that up.
What about in a CDR situation, some of these research participants are also responsible?
Yes, exactly. We were talking in another symposium that was a couple of weeks ago of participants that sabotage the research because they are interested in whatever the compensation is, or they're there for non-altruistic means, they want to get the blood tests, the screens, etc., but they don't keep the journals they're expected to keep, they don't take the meds, or whatever the protocol is, they don't honor the protocol, which is unethical as well in terms of sabotaging.
I guess I don't want to sideline things, but I guess I am curious about, and I'm just wondering how that is the whole idea of community-based research with Aboriginal communities and the protocols within the community around ethics, not just the institutional protocols, and how we align them. So, other than just putting that out as a beginning place, I just want to say that.
Yeah, and I think what we could do is try and touch on that. My sort of first response to that is that there are core ethic principles, but they can be relational to the context of either the research or the participants. So, and it may apply then how you consent, for instance, or share information, or how you disseminate the information, etc. will be, altered or flexible. And I want to get to the fact that if some of those processes have to be dynamic. The core principles of respect for human dignity and protection of the individual will stay constant. It'll be applied in that situation. So a consent thing, for instance, maybe in a Sikh family, I'm not sure, and I don't mean to point you out, but correct me if I'm wrong. In my clinical practice, if there was healthcare decisions with a Sikh family, everybody had to be included. And it started with the senior male in the family. So if there was a woman patient, the males were present to help with the healthcare decision making. So those are the sort of things that might have to be understood. And the norms of that culture, that community would have to be integrated, particularly with community-based research or action-based research. And so, and I think Chris this afternoon would be the one to really address that. And that's the So again, I don't know, and this, I apologize if this is very basic, but generally, you know, you kind of, we've always thought ethics have always been here, but they haven't. They've evolved from, unfortunately, generally experimentation in medicine, under the guise of medicine, and particularly the Nazi war crimes. Those inhumane practices and experiments on prisoners in the camps were prompted then the Helsinki response, the Nuremberg Code of 1947, and the Declaration of Helsinki were sort of the first adaptations to ethical treatment of individuals, but it was related to medical experimentation. Then the Belmont Report of 1979 and the National Research Act was signed into law in the States, and then the National Commission for Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research guidelines were written. We have in Canada the Tri-Council Policy Statement as an agreed upon guideline for ethical treatment of humans undergoing research. And it is these various guidelines and protocols and procedures have been developed to prevent, the kind of problems that even under the umbrella of research and honorable motivations would still use inducement or intolerable risk to individuals, deception in research, or doing research and then leaving and not anticipating some really harmful residual effects after the research. And a couple of examples I put up are anybody familiar with the Stanford Prison Experiment, 1973? So, a reputable university, and this was research funded by the U.S. Navy and the Marine Corps. And the idea was to try and figure out why conflict exists between guards and prisoners in naval prisons. So they wanted to sort of replicate a simulated situation using university students. They put out a call, and the students were never explained the course of the study. It was just going to be something around, they were asked to volunteer for a psychological study of prison life. And really what happened was they sort of constituted a makeshift jail at the university. Three cells. There were 15 people that volunteered. It was going to, I think it was going to go over 6 days. 14 days. It was going to be 14 days long. But they had never involved or informed them of what was expected. And it started by those that had volunteered were picked up by the police at their home, handcuffed, and taken to the jail. And so there was arbitrarily a number of them were set up to be prisoners, and others were to be guards. They had to stop the study after 3 days because of psychological damage to the students and the guards, etc. So it was a real embarrassment.